Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cher Beauvais, and this is week 3 of my progress report. So I'm going to share with you first my results and then go through some of the challenges that I had as well as successes. So this week my progress report is great. I've lost 12 pounds so far. So basically we're midway, so that's 2.5 weeks. That's fantastic. And as you know from previous videos, I'm also tracking other measurements. So my waist is down 2.5 inches, which is again amazing because that's the unhealthy fat. That's where it's stored. And then through my bioimpedance, which is testing body composition, I can see that I'm now I'm maintaining my lean muscle, which is I really want to make sure I'm doing because this is healthy weight loss, which is the goal as well. I've definitely the loss is coming off from fat now. As well, one of the other measurements I'm looking at, and I look at all the time with patients, is what's happening with the water. Because initially there was a lot of water loss, which is fine. But then what happens is the body's now, I've cleaned out my body, which is often why the water is flushing out. It's stabilizing. And it means actually the water now is kind of filling up the cells. So now my cells are more like grapes as opposed to raisins, which means they're going to function better, have more energy, I'll feel healthier. So everything is going in the right direction. And the other area also that I'm really happy to see is my basal metabolic rate, which is how many calories my body's burning at rest. That's how active my metabolism. It's been stable actually the whole time, but that's one of the markers I really wanted to pay attention to because often when people do more severe calorie reduction, that's part of the myth that can happen is that the metabolism will slow down. But when you're doing that in combination with the intermittent fasting, you're working with a different physiology. So you actually maintain your metabolism. So this will avoid sort of a bounce back and massive weight regain once I come off of the more stricter part of the program. So I'm really happy with the direction I'm seeing the measurements going. In terms of how I'm feeling, energy is really high, I would say now. I didn't really notice a big lull, just maybe the first few days, but I find definitely my energy is up. I'm feeling great. I'm sleeping really well. So these again, in terms of quality of life, how I'm adapting to this, I'm finding it quite easy. So cravings, these types of things are pretty much non-existent. The hunger passes. I'm used to it now. I'm comfortable with the feeling when it comes. I know it's going to go away. It's not going to mount and keep getting worse and worse until I'm ready to chew somebody's arm off. It does dissipate. So after a few weeks of going through those waves, the hunger comes and goes. I'm very comfortable with, those little pangs of hunger that hit now and then. So this is all going in the great direction here. I actually went out for another meal this week, and I just want to share this with you because I think it's good to give you some strategies that you can use as well. And it's a restaurant in our area that actually it's kind of like a smokehouse. So a bit tricky, right? It's a lot of ribs and fries, that type of thing. So I went in and actually had a watercress salad, which came with peaches, which was fine. As well with candied pecans. So I asked them to remove that, and some shaved cheese, asked them to remove that. And then I just got some smoked chicken with it, which was perfect. The only other thing I had to watch for was the dressing, which was an apple cider dressing, which apple cider vinegar is actually really healthy. It's a great vinegar, but obviously it's mixed with oil. So I just asked for just the straight vinegar on the side, and then I took just a little dab of the barbecue sauce. Like I'm talking maybe 1/4 teaspoon. Technically, barbecue sauce would have sugar in it, but just that tiny bit, just that little bit of flavor, mixed it and put on the salad, and it was delicious. So another successful meal out and about in the real world, not just huddled away in my kitchen. I would say I had one challenge this week, and this is a good one to raise some points around the behaviors around food and our associations and conditioning. We have a farm up north, and we went up for the weekend. This is the first time I've gone up since being on this program. And had family up, and I actually was having a hard time. I have a very strong association with, sitting on the patio, having a nice glass of red wine, some cheese, some crackers, steak on the grill, all these kind of foods that technically, right, I'm not supposed to have on this program. So, which normally, I can avoid things, but I found it quite challenging. And this is probably because what happens is when we develop triggers or cues, we associate food with certain situations. And then compounded with that, so you have sort of neurologically the nerves literally bundle together. The more they fire together, the more they bundle and wire together. So I've associated all that environment, being with the people, all these foods, it's a bundled deal, so as far as my brain's concerned. So the other part of it is because it's so pleasurable, I've got dopamine firing. And dopamine is the pleasure-seeking neurotransmitter, and it makes you want to get more of what feels good. So this is a double whammy. And so I actually even said to my husband, I said, I'm having a hard time. So I thought, okay, let's go back to what I tell patients all the time. And I've written programs on this. I wrote an 8-week program on sort of the behavior side around changing eating habits for a company that does surgical procedures for weight loss. So I know it, it's just applying it to my own life. So I thought, okay, number one was to revisit in my mind. I mean, this is why it's really good to track results, just revisit the progress I've made. And I thought, okay, up to that point, I had lost over 10 pounds. I was feeling really good. Do I really want to undo that just for the sake of one meal, of which, I can have these meals later on in the future, but really, do I need to undo what I've done? So reconnecting with the good progress that you've made is really helpful strategy. Secondly, it's kind of a flash forward, projecting forward, thinking, okay, how am I going to feel? If I cave in and I have the wine and, some of the cheese and the crackers, how am I going to feel about myself? And then especially, how am I going to feel when I go to weigh myself the next day? Or I see a decline in my results or a weight gain. I'm going to be really mad at myself. So these are the thoughts that I kind of made myself consciously. I brought it to my mind as being mindful. This is how I'm going to feel. Looking at the past, looking at the future. And then lastly, I just thought, okay, the other part of it I know is that you have to think of that resiliency or that inner discipline. If you think of it like a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The stronger it gets, the easier it is to use it. Just like if you're training your biceps, right? It's no different. So by sticking with it, managing to kind of not give in to the cravings and the desire to partake of all of the food and drink that everybody else was having, I thought, I'm going to make my muscles stronger, and next time I'm in this situation, it's going to be so much easier. So strategically, the other thing I did, those are obviously all the mental games, but that's huge if you can kind of wrap your head around what to do. The other, just strategically, I call it the distract and delay. I thought, okay, I can sit here the whole time and just stare at what everybody's eating. And I thought, no, I went in the kitchen. I made myself a little platter of some celery and salsa. I made a nice mineral water drink, put extra, some lemon and citrus, lime and oranges in it, made it colorful. So I didn't feel like I was being denied, and I could still partake of things socially and stay on track. And I even, believe it or not, volunteered to whip up the whipped cream that they were having for the strawberry shortcake later on. So there you go. And I didn't lick the bowl or the spoon. So it can be done. So anyways, hopefully that helps you out no matter what strategy you're, what plan you're trying to follow right now. Those strategies apply to any form of making lifestyle changes. So once again, thanks for joining me this week. I will see you next week when I am in week 4. And in the meantime, please feel free to visit my website to learn more about this particular program, along with learning more about other services and other programs I offer that could help you with other issues health issues that you may be having. So we will see you next week. And my goal is inspiring a healthier you. If this sounds like this could help you finally get on track and lose weight, then visit my website at drcherbovet.com and click on the link to book a discovery session with me, which is done over the phone for 30 minutes, and this session is complimentary. During this session, after I hear your story, you will learn why you are struggling with your weight loss, and you can learn more details about my doctor-supervised intermittent fasting rapid weight loss program.